successful at it. There are a lot of scary things happening out there to government employees today in terms of information theft and cybercrime. This is an important issue, and we have a couple of goals that we wish to accomplish this morning. Adam and I seek to do the following three things. One, educate you about the threat to government workers through a discussion of recent cases of information security breaches that government employees have experienced. Two, to inform you of the risks and the measures that government employees are taking today to combat these threats. And finally, three, we plan to empower you with information you can use immediately to make yourself more resilient against today's information security threats. So, let's get started. So, here are a couple of key facts about cybercrime. Cybercrime is a very serious problem today. In fact, the Department of Justice calls it one of the greatest threats facing our country. An estimated 150,000 viruses and malicious codes are lingering out there every day in cyberspace, just waiting for the right moment to strike. According to a recent report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the global cost of cybercrime has now exceeded $400 billion. To put this number into perspective, this amount exceeds the entire national income of most countries. And the public sector is a major target. In fact, it is the second most targeted industry, next to only the financial services. So, why should you care? Well, as inspectors general, you are quite vulnerable. As government employees, investigators, custodians of sensitive agency data, inspectors general are likely targets of cybercrime and computing device theft. Today we are increasingly resilient and dependent upon technology, which makes us thus increasingly more vulnerable to having that information compromised. And government information is a huge draw for data thieves. There are a lot of interested parties in your data, including individual hackers, large organized crime groups, nation states, and government agency employees. Recently, hackers have reportedly penetrated systems of the Defense Department, the Navy, and the Environmental Protection Agency, to name a few. In light of this, it's important for you to have a keen understanding of the ways that information and data can be stolen from you and the agencies you serve. I reviewed recent cases for you to demonstrate how this is often accomplished. So what's been happening lately? Well, recent cases have demonstrated cybercriminals use a variety of methods to perpetrate their theft. Specifically, they have phished government worker usernames and passwords. They have stolen government data from individual agencies and their third-party contractors. They have infiltrated government requests for data and used malware to steal agency secrets and investigative files. They've also stolen computing devices. According to a 2014 Verizon Data Breach Investigations report, most attacks on public sector agencies are due to miscellaneous errors, insider misuse, and crimeware or malware. But some employees are motivated to steal and sell insider data by the promise of payment from a third party. The perpetrators of cybercrimes have included phishers and hackers from Nigeria and China, but government employees have also mistakenly leaked data, had their devices stolen, or they purposely disclosed data because they were disgruntled or someone was paying them. So the threat is both internal and external, and the breaches have been both intentional and unintentional. Needless to say, IGs are especially attractive targets for any of these acts. IGs are known to have confidential information and sensitive data, and they could be subject to theft or retaliation. So here are a few recent noteworthy cases which demonstrate the threat that all of you face every day. One such threat is the hacker. Hackers are people that seek and exploit weaknesses in a computer system or computer network. Here in this case, a scammer created a fake website that resembled a legitimate government website. And they sent emails to employees of the Environmental Protection Agency where they were prompted to enter their government usernames and passwords, which they did. The scammer used this information to place fraudulent orders for expensive office supplies, which he had shipped from New Jersey to Nigeria and then sold on the black market for profit. Overall, this scheme netted the scammer $1 million. Here's another incident where hackers infiltrated the United States Department of Energy. In July 2013, the DOE announced a major data breach, which unfortunately was their second such breach in that year. They were also hacked in January. Overall, in both instances, hackers obtained the confidential payroll data of as many as 67,000 federal employees and contractors. In the next case, hackers stole personal data of government employees, and in doing so, compromised ongoing investigations. In August 2014, Reuters reported a major contractor for the Department of Homeland Security, USIS, who conducts background checks for the federal government, was subject of a state-sponsored attack that compromised the data of 25,000 DHS, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection Unit workers. This included undercover operatives. Now, in the next case, hackers again potentially compromised ongoing investigations. In July of this year, the Washington Post reported that the Office of Personnel Management's databases were hacked in an incident that was traced back to China. This breach was considered especially problematic because OPM holds files on all federal employees, including those who have applied for top secret clearances. Now, this case demonstrates how employee health data can also be exposed, which can lead to unspeakable risk, but more on that in a moment. But in August 2014, it was reported that hackers obtained thousands of government workers' information from OnSite, a third-party contractor, storing the data for HealthWays, a contractor providing state employee wellness screenings. In all, the breach exposed the healthcare data of 1 in 5 state workers in the state of Tennessee, over 60,000 people. So how did this happen? Well, hackers gained access to an abandoned 2013 computer system. Well, OnSite thought it was abandoned anyway. So this is really frightening. So why is it so important to keep government employee health data secure? Well, because cybercriminals can use this data to kill you via your computer. This is a true story. Some of you may have saw this in Homeland and thought, they can really do that? The answer is yes. There have been some recent warnings from Europol that bad actors can use cyber means to attack and kill government officials by perpetrating computer attacks on critical safety equipment, such as defibrillators. It is also believed that hackers could potentially take over someone's smart car or home via their connected devices, such as the iPhone, and actually extort a ransom payment from the owner to gain re-entry. As you can imagine, IGs are susceptible to these risks. Another risk to IGs are hackers who gain access to their computers. In this case, the perpetrators access protected government computers belonging to the U.S. Departments of Education, Health and Hospital Services, the U.S. Sentencing Commission, FBI's Regional Computer Forensics Laboratory, and their third-party contractors. Here, the thieves exploited a vulnerability in Adobe ColdFusion, which is used for website design and administration. And they used that to obtain unauthorized access into the government computers. Specifically, through this vulnerability, hackers were the necessary login credentials. This scam resulted in the theft of 100,000 employee records, to include names, social security numbers, financial records, including their credit card numbers. And this caused over $5 million in losses. So hackers have also targeted private sector computers looking for government data. In January 2014, it was reported that a group of hackers working for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad stole government data requests from Microsoft employees. The hackers, who were members of the Syrian Electronic Army, used phishing attacks to access the social media accounts and email addresses of Microsoft employees, and then use that information to access government information requests. By way of background, phishing attacks are attempts to acquire sensitive information by posing as a trusted entity. Spear phishing is when attempts are directed at specific individuals or companies, which is what appears to have happened here. So, this is also disturbing. Thieves have also targeted the computers of government workers to obtain agency secrets and investigative files. In 2011, an unencrypted laptop, meaning one that was not coded to prevent unauthorized access, was stolen from NASA. Unfortunately, this stolen laptop contained sensitive agency data, including command codes used to control the International Space Station. In all, 48 NASA devices were reported stolen between April 2009 and 2011. And because of these thefts, there have been over 5,000 incidents where perpetrators illegally obtained access to NASA systems and installed unauthorized software. In 2011 alone, the agency was subject to 47 cyber attacks. In all, these breaches have cost NASA an estimated $7 million. So I couldn't believe this when I heard it. But investigative files can apparently be stolen right out from under you electronically, after an innocent click of the mouse. This recently happened in the case of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, which mysteriously disappeared while en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. It was recently reported that Chinese hackers stole confidential data from the early stages of the investigation using a spear phishing attack. What the perpetrators did was, they sent malware or malicious software disguised as a news article which said the plane had been located. High-ranking officials from the Malaysian government and Malaysia Airlines were obviously very interested in this news and clicked on the link. But when they innocently clicked, it released a malware which hacked their computer and stole their confidential investigative files, including confidential crisis meeting minutes and other classified documents. Another information security risk to government data are government employees. Employees are often responsible for agency data leaks. They don't always mean it. There can be human error involved, or it can be a malicious attack. Either way, the result is bad. Here's some facts. According to the Hodiman Institute, about a third of data breaches by government employees are unintentional. According to the Privacy Rights Clearinghouse, over 92 million records since 2009 have been compromised in this way. Disgruntled current and former employees may also purposely compromise or steal agency data. Security experts believe this is because employees have the knowledge and the ability to exploit weak controls. Dell has also warned the public recently about employee data theft, reporting the results of a survey response meta-analysis where they found as many as 59% of ex-employees have admitted they stole data from their former employer. Another risk is lost or stolen laptops and other computing devices. Thieves are very interested in these. How often does this happen? Well, quite a lot. In a 2010 study, organizations reported they lost over 86,000 laptops in 2008 alone. So what are we to do about all of this? And what is being done today about this problem? Well, we're hiring more cybersecurity professionals, we're adding additional data security protections, we're tightening controls. Cybersecurity does not come cheap. ABI Research estimated we spent $46 billion on critical infrastructure last year. And the Pentagon alone is saying they plan to spend $23 billion by 2018. So what else can we do except for spend more money? How can we prevent the terrible things that you just saw from happening to you or your agency? Well, this is where Adam comes in. Next, Adam will empower you with information to make yourselves more resilient against unwanted information security threats. Thank you, and welcome, Adam.
So I'd like to thank the Association of Inspectors General and Chelsea for introducing me. It's an honor to be speaking with you here in Newark today. Many of you know me. I teach during the past two IG institutes, both the Inspectors General and the investigators. And we're here a little bit to talk about how you could do a little more to protect yourself and things that most of you weren't expecting, or some of this is such on the cutting edge of technology you might not have known about it. Before I start, let me just tell you that I am contactable and I publish most of my research on both Twitter and LinkedIn. So if you want to follow me, you can do so at those two locations. The materials discussed in this presentation are for information and training purposes only. They're not meant to be legal advice in any way. If you are going to be employing any of this information, please check with your own agency attorney before doing so. Not that that applies too much to this presentation, but laws change in every jurisdiction, and I wouldn't want you guys caught up. My slides are available for download at the slides web link, and sometime next week, this entire video with both Chelsea and I should be available at the link below as well. I call this presentation Digital Threats, Digital Kung Fu. Self-defense in the digital era. That is because you are constantly under attack by people that you don't know, or perhaps that you do know and are investigating. In this presentation, when I use red slides that are red, it usually means a threat. Black slides are ways to protect against that threat. Let's start off with something very simple. Welcome. What is your name? The name you think you have, or my name, Adam Watt, for example, is not the same as my digital name or my digital identity. And every single electronic device you have in front of you right now has a digital name or a digital electronic identity. I was going to do a network scan up here, but it might take a little too long, and I want to make sure I get through most of my presentation. So I did it while I was waiting while Chelsea was talking. Susan's iPhone came up, for example. This is somebody in the room named Susan who's connected to the hotel Wi-Fi network, and her phone is literally named Susan's iPhone. By default, Apple phones put the first name of the person setting it up as the name of the phone. And if you're on a digital network, a cellular network, or a Bluetooth network, and I want to target Susan and her iPhone, I know exactly where it is. MacBooks, on the other hand, put the full person's name in as the default, and this person might be very upset sitting in the room right now because I took the screenshot a couple of minutes ago. Here's somebody else, for example, who I know. Zvi, are you in the room? Zvi, you here? Zvi's in the back over there. And Zvi currently has his HP computer. Do you have it with you? Hold it up. It's named ZVHP, and he wasn't expecting this when he came in today. But it's the name of his computer, and he can hold it up, and I can, if I'm looking to target Zvi, it's very simple. I know who he is, what IP address is that. Take out your iPhones and Androids for a second, please. And as we get out our iPhones and Android systems, unfortunately, the only phone I have with me right now that I can easily show this to you on is an iPhone. However, if you have an Android phone, you can easily follow along without any problems whatsoever, because I do have some of the slides that will help you understand what's what. Let me see if I can get this for you here. Here we go. Is this going to cooperate? Yes, it is. There we go. You can see my iPhone. Nobody's sending text messages for the next few minutes, please. So if you have an iPhone, there are two things I want you to do so you can understand your risk level. The first one is how to hide yourself on a network. You could do this under Android as well, but what I would like you to do is I would like you to go to Settings. And then under Settings, what I would like you to do is go to General. Once you're at General, go to About. Your name, your phone's name, should be on the top there under About. I call mine for no reason other than I put in a stupid name for the presentation, because for information security reasons, I would never publish what the real name of my phone was. Who here, by a show of hands, has their name, either Android or iPhone, has their phone name really high? Okay, this is a problem. This is a problem because when you go places, whether or not you're connected to their Wi-Fi, you are broadcasting your name out. There are ways to trick that name out of your phone using both the cellular and Wi-Fi networks, and you don't have to be connected, you don't have to know about it, it happens behind your back. Change the name of your phone. My neighbor's Wi-Fi is called the Sexy Bitch. I live in a luxury residential building with 1,000 apartments. One of them is called the Sexy Bitch. The rest of them have indiscreet names. If a hacker lives in the apartment and is bored at night, take a guess, chances are what Wi-Fi network he wants to have. The name you choose for your phone or computer should be indiscreet, should be something that doesn't stand out, should be something that can't be used to identify you, or that will help you stand out in a crowd. A couple of random letters and digits might work just fine. HP printer might work, I don't know. Let me show you one more thing. This is dedicated to those of you with iPhones. It is so wonderful that I'm following up the GPS presentation, because I teach how to do this in a lot of the institutes, but it's going to be shocking to show you guys in person. If you have an iPhone, and this is available on Android as well, please scroll down till you see Privacy. That's never a good thing. Click on Privacy for me. If you're running iOS 8, this is what it looks like. If you're running 7 or 6, it will look a little different. If you're using 6, this won't work. This is for iOS 7 and 8, the last two versions. 90% of iPhone users are on 7 or 8. Now click on Location Services. All of you are about to have a stroke. Is there EMS in the room? Scroll down to where you see System Services and click on System Services. Scroll down a little more, you'll see Frequent Locations. Click on Frequent Locations. Uh-oh. Let's click on New York, New York. Now, I have purposely turned off my Wi-Fi and communications because I don't want people texting me. Let me turn it off for one quick second. Hopefully nothing will pop up. Because what you'll see very quickly is a map of Manhattan load. There we go. People are texting already. You'll see a map of Manhattan load. And we can go from location to location. And this is a system built into all your iPhones and most Android phones, where it automatically keeps the frequent places that you are at. And here you can see I'm at 101st and Broadway 4 times since I've gotten this phone just 2 weeks ago, or a month ago, I guess this phone came out, on 10/20 for 10/31 to 11/13. You can see time by time the places I was at this location. Or we can go outside of New York and we can go to Mount Kisco, New York, where you can see me being up in Mount Kisco, New York in the shopping district at one point, or at my in-laws at another point. My point is, most of you don't know that these records are being created on your phone. Most of you don't know these records are being created on your suspect's phone. These records are very easy to access. They have, for some people, complete history of when and where you've been, saved on your phone to be retrieved when you least expect it. Could be by a cyber criminal, could be by a spouse. By turning off frequent locations, you turn off that feature. Done by half of you in the group, I know. Instantaneously. Yes?
Does that capability exist prior to iOS 7?
No, not really. It was a little different.
Before that 7 would slow down.
Yeah, it exists a little differently in earlier versions. You have to trick it out in some cases, but it's not there graphically for you to see so easily. You would have to use a forensics tool to get it out in most of the earlier versions. You're welcome. Our phones have become a digital diary of our lives. And part of these digital diaries is that your life is here, and I've taught you that before at previous lectures. All your communications, all the places you travel. Turning off location services doesn't protect you in all cases. If you turn off location services, by the law, the E911 law that was passed, Verizon, AT&T, Apple, 911, are still always keeping records of where your phone are. Your phone is a permanent record diary that's attached to you. A diary that is literally day by day, minute by minute of everything that you do. So we need to better protect these. Do you have a question over here?
Why would you just not name your phone?
If the phone doesn't have a name, it might have trouble communicating on certain networks. Because your phone is such a diary of what we do from day to day, real caution is required, and we need to protect each other and protect you. There are people out there who are malicious. These people could be malicious because you're investigating them. These people could be malicious because you don't investigate a corrupt official they think you should investigate. Or these people could be malicious because you do something that upsets the public. There are many reasons to target the members of this audience. They can target you because you're a law enforcement official. They can target you because you investigate corrupt government. They can target you because they are corrupt government targeting you. We always say, sometimes we've heard in the law, even though it's not true, that possession is 9/10 of the law. Well, when it comes to mobile security, possession really is 9/10 of the law. Almost all security breaches happen, not all, but almost all, when your mobile device is out of your possession. There are very few mobile devices in this world that I cannot compromise in a matter of seconds if I have it in my possession. Your standard out-of-the-box Mac might take me 10 seconds. Your standard out-of-the-box Windows computer might take me 30. Your Android phone certainly won't take any longer than that. The current iPhones, if set up properly, are protected fairly well, although there's new software out there for that too. Your first step in protection is to make sure you use complex passwords. You have complex passwords on your computers. We've taught you this before. You know a proper computer password is not password 1234. So why are you using 9999 or 1234 or 6666 on your phones? Huge mistake. On an Android phone, you have the option between swipe, face unlock, voice and face, pattern, PIN, password. As law enforcement officials and investigators, you need to be using complex passwords, period. None of these other options should be choices for you. It is too easy for somebody to look over your shoulder, see your swipe pattern, see your 4-digit pattern, and put it back in. I don't have to tell you this, you've done it to other people already. iPhone users should go into Touch ID and passcode and turn off simple passcodes. I am also a believer in Touch ID for the most part, for most people, and if we get to the end of my presentation, I'll talk a little more about that. One way to prevent people from looking over your shoulder and seeing what you're doing is through the use of a 4-way privacy screen. For law enforcement and investigators like yourself, 4-way privacy screening should be as mandatory to you as bulletproof vests are for street cops. I have one on my iPhone, I'm holding it up now, and you can see that when you're not directly looking at it, you can't see the screen. They prevent people who are standing around you from seeing what you are doing. They are sold by companies like 3M. They are sold at the Apple Store, for example. Apple screens are designed to see the phone from all angles, and so are the Android screens. So they sell products in the store that prevents that. Who has an iPhone 5? Who wants this? Definitely the privilege of being the president of an organization. Location services are a problem too. By the way, I have an iPhone 6 now, so I can't use it. Location services are a problem too, but by turning off location services, all you are doing is restricting location services to third-party apps, and that's it. There's still a host of people that get your location. Today, we can even control location services app by app. Does the Apple Store always need to know where I am? No. But does Find My Friends? Yes, if I want them to be able to see where I am. So I could go app by app and select what app I want to see me in, when, and so could Android users on their phones as well. The next thing I'll tell you, and we talked about it a little bit briefly, but if you're using an Android phone or a laptop, whether Windows or Mac, your phone must be encrypted. Your laptops must be encrypted. There is no choice for people at your level. Whether it's personal or professional, your Android phones and your laptops must, today, in 2014, be encrypted. If you do not know how to do that, I'd be happy to speak to you during the break. There are both personal and enterprise solutions available. Your Android phone, you simply just click on something that says encrypt device. Windows and Mac are here as well, the instructions on how to do it. iPhones do it automatically as long as you set up a passcode. Set up a strong passcode, your iPhone is fairly safe. Remote wipe is something that you all need as well. What happens when you lose your phone? What happens when you lose your laptop? This is the Apple Remote Wipe program called Find My iPhone or Lost iPhone. It's free. Android and Apple both have free remote wipe solutions at this point. And here I activated it, and you can see that it's hard to see up here, but there's a little green dot where my phone was, where I was standing, and then over here I have the ability to play a sound, make a noise, wipe my phone, lock it, put it into report mode, lost mode. So you must have the ability to remote wipe your phones, even if they are personal. Here's the Android Device Manager, which will help you do that too. The reason you need to be so careful is because you are the people who watch those who do and watch others at times. How many of you investigate law enforcement personnel? Show of hands. About a quarter of the room. How many of you investigate people with IT backgrounds or cyber backgrounds? I was speaking, I think, to Chelsea about this a day or two ago. And I told her, and it's very serious, somebody like me knows they're being digitally investigated, just like an experienced street cop would know when he's being tailed. There are certain signs and markers that are out there. If you are even irresponsible enough to Google my name from your office computer and click on my couple links, I will know about it instantly. I'll know that you did it, and if you did it from your office computer, I'll know where it came from. I'll know you're looking at me. And it's to see my wonderful presentation. We talked a lot about GPS last time, so I'm not going to get into it too much right now. But remember that GPS is being logged on your phone at all times. Not only do we have historical data on every device in this room, but we have historical data at the network level that can be subpoena or warranted. Remember that both for your investigations. Remember that for your own personal protection. What happens when you're investigating a police officer that knows how to get access to this materials? They can set up alerts, literally, so that when they get near you, they know. It's not that hard to do. Secure communications are becoming next to impossible today. Very difficult to do secure communications. And that's what I just said. It is becoming increasingly easy to intercept and even alter communications. Your phone uses 4 methods of communication: cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and NFC. NFC is the newest communication. You might not be totally familiar with it yet. Android phones have a dangerously unlocked NFC that can do a lot of different things. If you take an Android phone and hold it up to my office door at John Jay, it will make a small vibration, and digitally information will be pushed to it that tells a student how to contact me and get to my websites. But my Apple phone can be used to pay for something, for example. NFC can be used for a lot of things. Here's a quick little piece of information most of you don't know. Bluetooth was actually named after an old Nordic king. The symbols of Bluetooth, actually, H and B, are the old Nordic symbols for King Harald Bluetooth. He's the king that brought together Norway and Denmark just before the year 1000. And because he was the king that brought together the area, Bluetooth, the technology that brought together technology, was named after him. But it's a very dangerous technology because it has a lot of exploits. If I were to do a Bluetooth scan of this room, which is what I was going to do, but I'm not going to waste your time, I would see most of your names of your phones if your Bluetooth is on. You should know about FireChat just as a personal security measure. Who's heard of FireChat? I didn't hear about it until Abraham Rivera brought it up to me a couple of days ago. Anybody hear of FireChat? Where have you heard it, in what context? Somebody in the audience? It's new. You wouldn't have heard about it until something very recent.
China?
China, thank you. FireChat is a Bluetooth protocol that links phones together to communicate off the record, and you can't snoop on it using normal means, so that groups of people can have conversations that are even themed without government in the area being able to watch. Occupy Wall Street would have made a lot of use of this at the time. Cyber criminals could make a lot of use of this. People in areas could make a lot of use of this. However, don't worry, we have a way of spying on it. Device called UberTube 1 that cost about $100 was released about 3 years ago. Before UberTube 1 was released, the same technology cost 10 grand. An open source project brought this technology down from 10 grand to under $200 overnight. And now this could snoop on any Bluetooth communication, your wireless headphones, and even more important, those wireless keyboards and every button you press. So here's my general advice. If you're flying, leave your cellular on, but turn off your Wi-Fi unless you're using a trusted connection. Leave off your NFC unless you need it. Leave off your Bluetooth unless you need it, because these are all wonderful ways into your digital device. Trusted Wi-Fi. If you're using Wi-Fi, it needs to be trusted. Don't use the hotel Wi-Fi. Don't use John Jay Wi-Fi. Don't use a Wi-Fi network unless you know what's behind it. And your home Wi-Fi networks or work Wi-Fi networks need to be protected with WPA2 or Enterprise, and you should be using VPN. Do you see that long string at the bottom? That is exactly 2/3 of my old home Wi-Fi network password. And it ends "Hi Mom," so I give a shout out right now to my mom. Hi Mom. Seriously. I live in a building with 1,000 people, all who make pretty good money, and many of which are probably technical. I don't want people hacking into my Wi-Fi at night, because there are websites set up to do this. It doesn't take much skill anymore. It would prevent something like a man-in-the-middle attack. Man-in-the-middle attacks are very common. Alice and Bob are trying to talk, but Eve sits there in the middle, and they're able to do it because Susan and Bob, or Alex and Bob, whoever it's going to be, are using an unencrypted channel to communicate, and Jack is able to insert himself in the middle there somewhere. There's a lot of ways to do it. They sell devices on the market. It actually came out of a podcast sponsored by Coors Light to teach kids how to hack. They sell devices on the market that you can deploy. They even come in tactical bags, or devices that can be plugged into AC wall outlets in a building. And these devices are man-in-the-middle devices meant to intercept communications and get in the middle of communications to spy. These are all toys I have in my office. Anybody here use AirPCAP? Any forensics people? Intercept Wi-Fi signals with extreme accuracy. Wireshark's a packet sniffer. AirSnort pulls down things. Hotspots, if you're using a hotspot, keep it on a leash. I do not recommend using Wi-Fi with a hotspot or your cable with you. Use VPN technology if you have access to it through work. If you don't, you can buy it. StrongVPN.com is an excellent example. Almost done. Wickr and Silent Circle are the two only secure communication protocols open to the public that don't have enterprise-based requirements. Both of these I've tested extensively. Wickr is free and used to communicate by a lot of people, including myself. Silent Circle is $10 a month. I've tried it. It's buggy as can be. Please don't sue me if you're Silent Circle. Both of these programs encrypt, they bypass the cellular network, and they're able to allow people to communicate securely. If you want to set up one of these and test it out to see how it works, I have a Wickr account set up just for this presentation, and my account is UWZen, Underwater Zen. So if you want to try Wickr, set it up and send me a message. I can respond to it the next day or two. But this is only a temporary account. I'm not going to keep it set up. It's just if you want to play with it. At a corporate level, an enterprise level, you need to be using things like Good or Iron Mobile to secure your communications within your workplace. Good and Iron Mobile allow people to bring their own devices, so you don't necessarily have to give them a phone. But it allows you to secure all types of communication: email, voice, text, files. All organizations should be using one or more of these technologies. AirWatch is something that we use at John Jay to manage a very large iPad fleet. And again, it allows us to monitor and cover if lost and fight if lost. And if we were a business, we can do other things as well, but we don't do it as an academic institution. Let me tell you a quick story that happened in Jacksonville, Florida. I'll shoot through this quick. True story. I was just done with my presentation doing the institute, and I went up to my hotel room, and I laid down, and I was tired, and it was nighttime, and I wanted something to do, so I decided to turn on iTunes. And I watched the best movie ever made of all times. The irony no one here even knows. It is the best movie ever made. But while I was watching the best movie ever made, I looked at my home sharing on iTunes. This is something that is legal, that is set up to be done, that most of you do by accident. And we were in a hotel with two conferences, the AIG and another federal auditor conference. And as you can see here in the red, some guy named Todd, and I blanked out his last name, was sharing his entire iTunes library with me. With everybody in the hotel. And many of you are right now too. But what's scary is that Todd was sharing his voice memos. And they were recordings of interviews. What's even more scary is that Todd was also sharing his 25 most played. If I want to socially engineer or get into Todd, I could start learning Todd. Start learning what music he likes, what bad Beatles songs he likes. I could see how he spends his money, what he purchases, what he pays for. I could start learning his habits and what's important to him. And then I went to the most horrible place, his movies. You're laughing, but you don't understand why this is so horrible. It's horrible because one of his movies was Curious George. I know he has children. And if I'm targeting him, now I know he has kids, and to make it even worse, he had a home movie with his children doing karate. I blocked out all the faces in the name of the institution, but I was able to see every face there and the name of the karate place. And I know Todd, I know his last name, I know where his kids do karate. He needs to shut off Share My Network in the iTunes settings, or at least password protect it. Let me finish up just by saying that I believe in Touch ID. There are ways to trick it, but it's so much easier just to look over your shoulder and see your password. There are risks involved with all technology. I believe that for the average person, Touch ID is a smart thing. We have lots of vulnerabilities, and we need to make a decision whether trick or force or over the shoulder is more important. If you're somebody who's going to be kidnapped, maybe Touch ID isn't the best idea for you. But if you're the average everyday person or investigator, I think Touch ID is. Chelsea touched off on phishing and spear phishing, so I'm going to skip over it. Other than realizing that the difference between phishing and spear phishing is that when you're spear phishing, you've got a specific target or group in mind. And if I have you in mind, I will get you. and so will many other talented people. Because when you're being targeted directly, the emails don't say, "Dear consumer, hi." You know, it's very, very specific in emails that are used. "Dear Adam Want, your Bank of America account, ending 9532. It's been, and I know who you are, so I've already investigated you, and I can send you emails from people that you know. Metadata is attached to all of your files. This is a picture I took in Columbus Circle this weekend, and I took it on my iPhone, but if you could see all of the data attached to the picture, the metadata. And whenever you guys are taking pictures, whether at crime scenes or investigations, remember there's metadata on those pictures that you might need to use as evidence and or trade with somebody else, or you might use it as part of an investigation. That metadata includes everything from the actual phone, the serial number of the phone, the date and time it was taken, to the exact GPS coordinates that they were taken. I can just click a button and see it on a map. Remember that metadata comes on documents, photos, all types of data, and you might need to remove the metadata before passing the file along. There's a great metadata extractor tool, iExpert, that I use. But there's also, all you do is you drop the file in there and it strips it. You could look more up on document data meta extraction on Wikipedia. But there's also the Exit tool by Phil Harvey, which is pretty much the standard out there. It's free, PC, Mac. I have a link, you can go download and click on it. Finally, Android phones need malware protection, period. If you have an Android phone, you have to be using malware protection, and I recommend Avast Free. Very good malware protection. I'm out of time, I think, so I won't get into keyloggers, and I'll just finish by saying that two-step authentication is something that all of you need to start learning about. It uses both your password and something you know to authenticate you into a site, and it's becoming the standard today. It's available on almost every device. You go to a website like Facebook, first you enter your password, or a bank. Then the bank sends your cell phone another password that you use to get into the site. It makes it so that to enter into certain sites, you need to have your cell phone on you, and it's a multi-factor, another layer of authentication. Apple made this much more stronger after the current data leak of celebrity photos. But here are a list of some of the people that support this. Your Gmail does, Dropbox, Evernote, Google, Apple, Bitcoin. They all support it. Go find out more about two-step authentication. Turn it on today because it is extremely important to protect yourself. Thank you.